said, the 4 games that they played against FlyToMoon looked completely FlyToMoon favored.
Yes,
Like,
it wasn't even close.
They had their number. So it's good to hear that NiP has figured something out because, you know, and that does happen in Dota. You'll just, okay, we were picking this hero. It was pretty terrible. We weren't fighting with our mid. We weren't farming enough on our 4, giving them enough like farm priority, you know, like we see with Liquid doing. One paradigm shift like that is enough to completely change the game.
Yeah, and talk is cheap. As much as I did enjoy seeing NiP have a slight return to form versus Cyber Legacy, who I would have considered to be a pretty close match, and it just ended up being very, very NiP favored. I didn't really see enough significant development in NiP's like playstyle or draft that was like, oh, they're coming with a new approach against new opponents. It seemed more of the same. It seemed Charlie Sven, which we are again seeing here in this draft. So as much as I would hope that they have learned something, it's not going to come in the form of heroes, I don't think. It'll have to come in the form of playstyle.
I do like the Slardar with the Sven, though. You know, one thing that I think Puppy said in his interview, or at the very least people were like referencing, like, oh, this was what was implied by what Puppy was saying, was that when they picked the Omni Knight, it wasn't just to counter the Magnus. Like, there were other reasons to it. There were other nuances to the draft that made the Omni Knight work, which is why we have seen it not work despite being against Magnus or Void in other series. So with that being said, I feel like this Sven hero, it's very common that you see with these successful teams with Sven, they do pick it with the Slardar because you have that crazy amplification, the follow-up stun as well. It's gives you enough to burst a lot of carries with just the amplification and Sven stun. So I do like that, and I feel like when they say we've learned some things, it's probably these sort of hero combinations and how to truly counter, you know, the timings to counter, things like that.
Yeah, the games that they won yesterday against Cyber Legacy were all on the back of that Charlie Sven. Before that, we had seen some success on the Charlie faces Void, and it feels like when they lose on a hero, they kind of lose faith in the hero and look for a different one. So we had them have some success on the faces Void, then they lost one, and then they tried out all these different heroes until they found Sven. And it's worked.
Yeah,
So far.
We learned something. Sven is good. All right, good. Nice one, NiP. Good
Many
stuff.
teams have come to that conclusion, but FlyToMoon always goes to the beat of their own drum, pulling out a Dark Willow here. It's I've yet to really find that Sven has, I don't know, as much as the Aghanims is helping him out, he's still just as susceptible to kiting as ever before. I'm always skeptical that if Sven's the primary initiator or even the secondary initiator, unless if you can insta-burst someone, it's difficult to really finish off a fight. And so Dark Willow with a Terrorize is actually what I'm most concerned about for a Sven. Forget the rest of her kiting abilities. It's mainly the fear that I find is going to cause a lot of issues for the Sven.
This is why I like the Slardar, though. I feel like a lot of the problems that you just mentioned are solved, like at least to some degree, by a Slardar that has a decent amount of farm. If they can get a BKB on the Sven and the Slardar, I don't see with this current draft what FlyToMoon can do. And then they pick up the Morphling. So I played with this in pubs recently, actually. Like a lot of people are currently picking this as a carry matchup against the Sven because in the late game, you just get an Aghanim Scepter. It's like Morphling versus a Rubik, Morphling versus a Gyro, whatever. You get the Aghanim Scepter, and you just are a better Sven. You don't have the Sven ult, but you have this crazy stat morph that puts you to just about the same damage that a Sven has. So you get the same level of jumping in, instantly killing people with the cleave, because these are all normal abilities on Sven, and then the follow-up of becoming a Morphling and bursting somebody down with like Ethereal Blade. So I do really like this as a Sven counter, actually.
And the Oracle, of course, there as the very first pick for Ninja Pajamas has been very successful for a lot of teams. But I guess already with now the Grimstroke Doom, you already have to save 2 people, and he can only do that for the 1.
That's true. That's true. Some sort of other like peel or save might be pretty nice in this draft. Some like Centaur, but I mean they already have a Slardar, so I doubt that's going to happen. So we need a 4 position.
So yeah, because what are we lacking? Like, what does this 4 position need to do? Because the way you guys are talking about the draft so far, you feel like it is in favor of FlyToMoon.
Well, I would wager that Oracle only needs to worry about saving 1 person. That's kind of the advantage of picking these other tanky cores. Like, a Viper really isn't justified yet. There's nothing worth breaking. I don't think they needed to be worried about a Spectre being picked up by FlyToMoon. And so I think they just want these self-sufficient cores that makes that Oracle only have to worry about concerning himself for one hero. And so
the Sven.
Right, exactly.
That's a really good point.
And so then maybe some tanky 4 position is Earth Spirit available?
I was literally thinking of Earth Spirit as well, but the only problem that I'm thinking, like imagining myself in the game is like if you have an Earth Spirit Slardar lane
That's true.
against a Morphling.
And a Willow, maybe?
I'm not sure how that goes. I want a hero to like respond to the Morphling's existence. Like somebody needs to burst Morph. Who bursts Morph right now? Nobody. It's Sven late game, but you know, late game, like Morphling has items. He's going to prevent the burst. So I think you need some sort of like Rubik. Is Rubik banned?
Rubik is not banned.
I would say Rubik is a solid answer. I know it's not the best thing, but you can get the lift off. And if he isn't stat morphing, you can actually kill him with the follow-up.
There's some nice things to steal.
Yeah, good stuff to steal. All Dark Willow spells, Doom, Morphling. It's a soft counter to the Morphling because you steal Strength Morph.
We've also seen some Lina supports. I don't know if you count that as a good, or is it a little bit of a trap?
If you want to go if you want to go that route of burst, I would say Lion is a better option.
It's better option. Even as a 4.
As a 4.
Yeah.
Is there any chance they turn the Oracle into a 4 so you have that kind of burst damage in the lane with the Purifying Flames paired up with the Slardar and then get a different 5 position?
Yeah, I think that's pretty good. We've seen a few teams do that. It's definitely going to put a lot of pressure on the Morph. It's really good level 1s through 3 where that's where Morphling struggles too. So that would definitely hinder his existence a little bit. But the problem there is that then you have an Oracle 4. This hero's like not particularly good with farm. Can't really get farm. It's like having a Bane 4 almost.
Yeah, and then so they pick up a Nature's Prophet on FlyToMoon. Still flex potential between the Prophet and the Doom to go mid, or even the Morphling. I think it's pretty much guaranteed that the Viper is going to go in the mid lane. So out of those mid lane matchups, I would imagine that they probably want to send the Prophet versus the Viper.
I think so. I think that's like the only thing they can really do. Otherwise, the Viper is going to like crush the mid lane.
Yeah.
I don't think Morph versus Viper. That could be possibly Morph favored. Morph is a weird hero, but I would say Viper will probably destroy him so much in the first 1 to 3 levels.
Right.
I'm thinking if you want to go crazy and like flex the Slardar to be a 4, Batrider seems pretty free in this game. But it would require you to have a Slardar 4, which it will give you the amplification that you want. I mean, it's not like he's not going to have the levels to do that as a 4. You don't need farm.
And then Batrider would just take the initiation responsibilities.
Right.
Yeah.
And then it's like a pretty free bat game. Destroys Doom. Good against Morphling in lane.
Ooh.
Okay.
It will be a Slardar 4.
Yeah. Okay.
Viper 3?
Very interesting.
Viper 3. We've seen that before, but what do we think about that Shadow Fiend then?
A lot of armor reduction. They were going to make this Sven very, very tanky. So this is a different approach because I was saying that NiP's Charlie Sven games seem kind of cookie cutter, but I don't remember them going for a minus armor strat in this capacity. At most, they may have paired it with Avenge, which is pretty predictable these days, but a Shadow Fiend Slardar is thinking outside of the box now.
Well, EGB is still heavily in favor of FlyToMoon. How about you, Jenkins?
I like this NiP draft. I like that we all assumed it was a Viper mid and that we were wrong. Yeah. This shows to me that that's not something that I felt during NiP's drafts before. And I'm just kind of excited to see them do something that we all weren't expecting. Like they were right. They learned something clearly. We'll see if it actually pays off. Yeah,
this laning phase, I think I've kind of been bored with the laning phases, especially today. I've been mostly predictable, but Shadow Fiend, Willow, 4 Slardar. This is stuff that is off the beaten path, so I'm curious to see how these matchups will go. Mainly the mid lane. I'm very curious to see how this Shadow Fiend will fare against what I'm assuming is still going to be the Prophet, but I don't know. I mean, you can raise down the...
Now it's weird, yeah. What do you
put mid? Could be the Doom. I mean, yeah, it was a good Shadow Fiend pick.
I think SF does fine in any matchup that you put mid.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we are going to find out who they are going to put mid against that Shadow Fiend, because it is time for the first game, or the 5th game, however you want to see it, between FlyToMoon and Ninjas in Pajamas. So let's head over to a commentary team of ODPixel and Lizard.
FlyToMoon. Ninjas in Pajamas. Let the battle begin!
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Game 1 of NiP versus FlyToMoon. I'm ODPixel, joined by Lizard. We've just seen the lineups and some interesting stuff to talk about. Lizard, we saw the ending of it all. This Viper comes out, and then bam, we have the Morph and then the Prophet. You know, they're like, well, we're going to have this good match against the Viper. But then, aha, it's SF in the mid lane and Viper going elsewhere.
And it's the first time that I see NiP do something like this. So I'm actually very satisfied to see this Viper, which most likely will be played on offlane. You can see him running there already. I think this is definitely the right approach from them. When we were watching those 4 picks in, I was all in the FlyToMoon's boat. I thought they had this for sure. But right now, with the SF being picked up as well for mid, they don't have a good matchup versus him.
No, they don't. They don't indeed. But we'll see how that mid lane does go down. It is going to be the Doom going mid. So Iceberg is still going to take the Doom mid in that matchup. I mean, I guess you have regen, you got a lot of HP, but still, at the end of the day, you're a melee hero against an SF, right? It can't be easy. It's got to be pretty tough.
I actually haven't seen this matchup.
Yeah.
It's not really that often that you see Doom go mid overall. It's a new thing in this meta, right? But like you said, you are playing versus SF. He's going to connect a couple of those raises, and the game can be very difficult for a melee hero there.
Yeah, I guess you just got to be careful as the Doom. Make sure you get enough sustain out.
I guess he's still going to start with raises first. Yeah, you see, like this is all you have to do. Start with raises first, so you get those first couple of waves. After that, the game should be exceptionally easy for the SF.
Oh, let's have a look. So the side lane setup, always want to fly down bottom, supporting V-Tune's Morphling. Gonna have to be going up against Era and Saberlight, so of course the support Slardar. See what Era's able to do with this.
Yeah, I'm predicting some tweets coming from Saberlight if this game goes well. I predict some very toxic tweets coming from him.
He's playing the hero, and you're right. I mean, if you are missing out on Saberlight's Twitter, it's a lot of fun to follow.
I like
always coming in with the smack talk.
Yeah, I like the guy quite a lot. I actually missed drama in Dota. You know, your Salt, your PPD, your Sev. I want to see more of that. Saberlight is definitely carrying the torch.
See top lane. I'm going to bring Roger pretty low here, as Roger, he's just straight up dead. First blood for NiP, as Roger cannot run away down bottom. A second one, and they do lose Misha in return. And now with the setup on a V-Tune, they might just be able to find him, and they do. NiP clean up both kills as well on the bottom lane at the same time.
It looks like every single lane for FlyToMoon for NiP, will be really good. Like on the bottom lane, it's Slardar and Viper. All he needs is those stacks on you, and you're gonna die as Morphling unless you have that waveform to go away, which he didn't have in that situation. Really good start so far from NiP.
See now, I mean, now that the level 2's there for Era, he can just trade so reliably with these heroes still stuck at level 1, just running down V-Tune. He's trying to build up the strength. V-Tune, he's just getting absolutely beat on apart from these two heroes. Era and Saberlight take him out. Charlie, he's going to start sending the tips over. NiP ready to really hit V-Tune hard in the laning stage, both inside of the game and out of it.
Yeah, the lane equilibrium was not in their favor. The Viper and Slardar realized that, and then they just zoned them out of experience. Hell, they even killed the Morphling, but the most important thing is they're keeping them on those level 1s. They can do whatever they want to in this lane.
Yeah.
This is a disaster already.
Well, where does the Morph go? He's going top. He's going top. He's out of there. He's out of the bottom lane, heading to the top. Let's see if things are any better for him up there. I mean, this is a lane as well where, how we see in the farm, looks like this lane, Sven, also struggling. You don't have a lot of CS. Has got the wave coming in on that top lane. Mid lane, I mean, it's going pretty much as... Well, I mean, I suppose getting more CS than you may expect against the SF on the early levels, but you've got to imagine from this point onwards, it's going to be very hard for Iceberg to get much out of the lane creeps, as long as Supreme's able to hold them in a good position.
Yeah, level 2 raises are all that it takes, pretty much. One good thing for FlyToMoon is that you can always TP with the Nature's Prophet. So if you do get these musical chairs when it comes to the laning stage, he will be switching without losing gold.
See, stamped on Roger, but Charlie not having the stun at the ready. Can't commit for that, and still, there's been a lot of time that Charlie's running at heroes. Might need to sort of slow things down for the creeps.
Charlie is at least getting some last hits, but you see what they're doing. They're tri-laning top now. I think this is the right approach from FlyToMoon. They need to resurrect this laning stage somehow, because
right
right
gotta
now...
help the Morph. If Morph's off to a bad start this game, what have you got? You know, you need to make sure that VP gets something, and we're 4 minutes in, he's only got 4 CS.
CS a minute.
Roger. Trying to get something done there with the Inkswell combo of the two of them.
The problem is this lane isn't easy. Like, they can stay as a dual lane on top lane because you have that Oracle. Oracle just destroys Dark Willow and the Inkswell from Always Wanna Fly. So that lane should be also easy for NiP.
Again, another attempt with the stun. This time, Era, he's going to head up top to try and join in. Crush comes in, catches the two of them into the bash. Roger falling low. Gets nuked out by the follow-up Purifying Flames of Misha. So more kills for NiP on this top lane. Still able to try and break into the tri-lane and now match it themselves with Era staying up it. Leading with the stun on to Always Wanna Fly. They're going to look for the opportunity to run down another one with the crush into the bash. That'll do it. Continued kills for NiP here in these side lanes.
You can stay as a dual lane and trade last hits, or you can bring in Era and then get kills as well. So pretty good rotation coming from the Slardar. Only problem might be that Furion is free farming.
Oh, is this going to be another one? They've got the crush into the root, into Charlie coming around with the stun. It's going to be another kill for NiP in this top lane. Now 7-1, 2k lead. The kills just continuing to fly out.
Now VTune is like, at least they're not hitting me, at least I'm getting some farm. He's really underfarmed. He has only 14 CS, but when you look at Charlie, he's not that far ahead as well.
Sure, but he's getting kills and assists, right? Sven already 1-0-3, he's getting involved in action.
And when you think about how these two cores work, obviously Sven, once he gets a couple of levels, he can even jungle, and his farming speed will accelerate so hard.
Go again. This lane very hard to really get stuck into as FlyToMoon now with Era just sitting around. Seeing the support Slardar certainly work out to great effect in this first 6 minutes. 2-0-4 on Era.
And that's all you want as a support Slardar. It's really important that you have a good start of the game, that you have these tranquils at least, because you can't really farm as Slardar. Unless you're really given a lane, you can't find your items. So it's pretty solid that he's getting kills now.
See top lane. Trying to make moves in onto Misha. The Nature's Wrath comes crushing around as well. It's not enough to kill off Misha. Now Era turns in onto VTune. VTune has got to be careful. The SF did come in, but Iceberg was able to follow the movement. Came in with the Doom. Stun, holds back Iceberg, but they have the damage to fly out with the last hit from Roger to kill off Supreme. Diving in, Iceberg, he's going to be able to run down Charlie. They get the stun onto Misha, and Iceberg with this movement up to top helps the team clean up. As both squads head up there, but Iceberg, as I say, just putting a stop straight away to Supreme's movement with that Doom, and then just running down the rest of the lane. All things considered, this laning setup in the mid lane, it's been totally fine for Iceberg. He's kept up in farm, and he's having that much more of an impact with that first move.
Yeah, that's a Doom you always want in your pubs, but you never get. And he found a really good creep early on. You can see that he has stuck with it. It's the Wolf. I believe that's one of the main reasons why he was able to keep up the farm with Supreme. Look, he's on top of the network charts right now.
Yeah, I mean, this is solid. I mean, as I said, did you expect this going into lane against the SF? I feel like we've seen
definitely.
heroes like Dooms go in, but this is great stuff from Iceberg. He is far, far ahead. Played the matchup very nicely in a matchup where you definitely have the opportunity of slipping up on the early levels to the raises, but Iceberg didn't. He's kept it solid. He's 2-0-1 as the mid Doom.
And I would guess that Iceberg has a bunch of game on SF, but not as many on Doom. Retune.
Top, this is the problem against the support Slardar. You just can never TP. Your only option is to run. So the combination of the Slardar and the Viper, it doesn't matter how long it takes to kill him, they still kill him. He cannot get out of there.
Eventually they'll take you down.
Yeah.
I think they realized on the bottom lane that the lane is unplayable the moment the equilibrium got out of hand. Like, the moment the creeps got close to the tier 1 Dire Tower, you can't lane as Morphling anymore because they just run you down. And that's what we're seeing constantly now.
We're seeing the River General in trouble here as the root's going to come out. Supreme and Era charging straight towards him. The Sprout will put things to a stop though. Not got enough resources to cut through the tree line.
Very, very nice sprout. I wonder if NiP will do what Viking GG usually do versus Nature's Prophet. It's every single member has a Quelling Blade. I would like to see that from NiP as well, because it truly does help. There you go, Viper with a Quelling Blade.
Yeah.
That's literally it.
It's the Prophet counter. Definitely pays off. 8-4. Net worth even. Iceberg leading the way, but the 3 cores of NiP very close behind and even. Iceberg looking for a Doom opportunity. Might just find it. Does he want to drop it? He does. They're going to go straight for Charlie. In with the Inkswell stun, there's TP's coming in, but this damage, as you say, with the Alpha Wolf, more than enough. They should have a shot at getting the deny. In fact, they might not need to, as we'll see Misha attempt to kill the Sven alive, and he'll be able to do so. So the Doom is countered. The Sven will live, and NiP, they'll be the ones to get the kill. There's always one of Fly's left behind, and ends up going down.
Going in for a kill such as that one on a Sven definitely is good for them, because you understand that he's farming the Ancients, right? But you haven't killed the tier 1 on the mid lane or the tier 1 on the bottom lane, which those 2 things are so crucial for you, because they're outpost for Oracle to TP to. He TPs, he saves the Sven.
Always going to be in with the counter plays, Misha, unless they're able to kill that Sven a little quicker under the duration of the Doom. 10-minute bounty runes come up. Charlie clearing the Ancients, and we'll be able to find that bounty rune, no problem here. Zera toying around with Roger, but not going to head any closer. Iceberg also in the area.
If you look at the 2 dire wards, you can see that they're all about protecting that triangle. That's literally where the Sven will be AFK for the majority of the mid game.
Be a little careful. Has got a lot of backup coming in for this defense. As FlyToMoon really don't want to let this tier 1 tower go. It'll work for now as NiP start to back off. Vera is caught in the high ground. Soulbind comes out. Roger comes in with a Shadow Realm hit, finishes off the Slardar's life. As Zera falls, FlyToMoon hold the defense. Iceberg, we have to get the D ward. No Doom for 40 seconds though, so no real means to dive any further in onto the Supreme SF. Yeah,
that Soulbind was there just to slow them down a little bit. When you really think about it, they don't have too many combos right now with the Soulbind, at least. It's just the Doom, that's it. So, you wait a little bit. I'm actually wondering what Iceberg will buy next. He has 1400 gold. Is it going to be a BKB or a Blink Dagger? Because that will decide the way he plays the rest of this game completely.
Yeah, we'll see what he considers. Starting to really build up the gold. We'll see the build from Saberlight. Will be there going for the offlane utility Viper build, trying to get the Greaves on for the team.
I think it's pretty solid. I think Viper overall is a really good offlaner if you give him a good support. And Slardar is exactly what he needs. That front liner that protects him and also gives him these stuns that he desperately needs to stop TPs or so.
12 minutes in. Nice room for Supreme. Going for the stat build. SF treads into S and Y.
That's normal when you have a Slardar on your team as well, right? You're activated. You have a lot of utility from the Viper, so you don't have to build anything like that. I was wondering if he might go for something like Yules, because you're lacking a little bit of lockdown, but this is pretty good.
There we go, bottom lane. The hold starting to come in from FlyToMoon. As they'll gather around the tier 1, Charlie. And Saberlight actually hanging around the mid. Actually, Saberlight cancelling his TP, wants to stay down here with the rest of the team. FlyToMoon are prepared to hold. If NiP try to force this, we'll see if NiP can find any way of getting in. Roger starting things off with the Cursed Crown on Era, but Saberlight's at his side. Still FlyToMoon just happy to make space for V-Tune, really. Trying to slow down NiP as much as possible. Era tries to get a catch on to Always Want to Fly, but again, just able to hide deep in the trees, stopping NiP from getting any closer to him.
Yeah, one big thing that FlyToMoon have got going for them right now is General. He can split push mid and at the same time TP bottom to be in that fight.
Yeah, with all this focus down bottom, you do definitely feel FlyToMoon getting more out of the map. You're right. You know, both General and VTune getting space as opposed to NiP, where it is just Charlie getting space. When NiP have 4 heroes down bottom that are being dealt with a 3-man defense of FlyToMoon. The numbers are just working out better for FlyToMoon in these scenarios.
Yeah, Charlie is being given a lot of space, however, and he has that Midas. Tom lane.
Oh, they hit the Soulbind here on the 2 of them. They're just diving in. Iceberg, he's not even going to need to drop down the Doom as they take out Misha. Era popping the South, but the bug is out upon him. Should be able to kill it off before the damage is done, and will do so. He'll live. But it's a kill, you know. Again, FlyToMoon just getting the job done with just the 3 heroes. Saberlight step forward. They'll just collapse on him immediately. General TP's over. That's another unnecessary death down here. You do have Supreme coming in with the ultimate, pushing them back with the Requiem. Era, he's still hanging around, but he's so low. Era's got to be careful.
Buyback.
He's going to see if they can turn this. They get the control here onto the 2 of them with the Fear, but they'll still lose Iceberg. Goes down. General and Roger out with the TPs. They're away. So the buyback does secure them the chance turning onto the Grim and the Doom.
I think the only reason why he bought back is because if he didn't, FlyToMoon would continue fighting and they would have a numerical advantage. Because Ardar was so low, they might even win that fight. So it's important that he bought back, but he is putting himself in a really bad position in which he will lack farm.
Oh yeah, he's been knocked right down in front of Saberlight with that buyback.
If you're thinking you're an offlane Viper, and as an offlane Viper, you still need to snowball a little bit. That's the nature of the hero. You need to get those small little items that help you sustain yourself and your team in the mid game.
Yeah, and these sort of moves, it's just not... It's slowing down NiP's game. They're not continuing to create an advantage. And they'll look towards always want to fly bottom. Not going to be able to dive in, and now Iceberg, he's into turn. They've found Saberlight. Soulbind's out, locking down the 2 of them. Saberlight just brought back. He's out of the game again. He's dead for a minute. And that dieback at this moment in the game, I mean, that just is so painful for the Viper.
It's really painful. And when you die instantly after, you're dead for an additional amount of time.
A minute at this stage.
It's really bad for Saberlight. This isn't looking good, but the problem is you're not a mid Viper, right? So you have to be creating space, as your SF and Sven are both farming. So you're pretty much put in this worst position on the map, which is easily collapsible on, and that's what happened. Bottom lane tier 1, will NiP defend it or not? Because this usually isn't really a big deal, but in a game such as this one, it's a crucial objective for NiP. It opens up the Ancients, the whole triangle where Sven wants to be, and it shrinks the map if it dies.
We'll be able to hold for now. We've got Iceberg, BKB finished, and I'm gonna hit a good timing with this in terms of having the BKB and the level 2 Doom up again in 10 seconds here. He just needs to clear one more wave to get that level done. So you can definitely expect FlyToMoon to be very eager to strike with the Soulbind double Doom then.
I like the BKB as well. Like, he could have went for the blink, but he realized in these last couple of fights, I don't really need it. I get on top of my...
Yeah, he's fast enough anyway, right?
He's fast. Especially,
he got the Inkswell.
He got the Inkswell, and especially the Faded Brooch. I value this item a lot on any hero, but on Doom it's so good because of the Scorched Earth and the talents.
Oh, and look at this. They've headed into Roshan with the wall coverage. NiP didn't get any information regarding this. And they do it quickly. They have the Medallion. They've got V-Tune on the Morph. They've got it, yeah. That aura as well. They take this down in seconds. This is going to be a free Roche for FlyToMoon. Very, very nicely done there as NiP just not able to do anything in return because of it. As I say, the farm is still building up on their own course. Charlie, level 15, Midas SMY on track to go for the Satanic after. So still hitting very good timings on the Sven. But is it going to be enough? Because as the game continues, just overall, FlyToMoon as a team, they're building up the greater lead and value.
Okay, so I like this build with SMY and Satanic. Obviously, the status resistance will be huge on him. Will he dish out enough damage in these teamfights, though? That's the question.
Oh, this is a nice win as well for Iceberg, but they spotted him. Sentries are down. Iceberg in response will put the BKB. V-Tune, he's going to start going straight towards Saberlight. Saberlight, he's going to be dead before he has any impact in the fight. Misha being focused by Iceberg. He's had to use the false promise on himself. Charlie is going to try and fight. He's popped the God Strength. He's trying to go for Iceberg. Will get the kill. But Charlie, he's dying. VP turns back into the Viper, builds up the poison stacks as Charlie, he's falling low, gets burst down by the strike of VP. They've lost 3 on NiP. They're probably going to lose Supreme as well here as he's caught in the bramble. The raise is not enough to bring down Roger as he's out. A triple kill for VP. As I mean, at this stage, it's starting to look a little worrisome for NiP. FlyToMoon up 5k. You just had a situation where they get Roche, they get the Aegis, they just come out of the pit, and VP, he's just picked up a triple kill on them all. And they're not even done yet, FlyToMoon. They're looking over towards mid. Error being played around with by Roger and General. He'll only get away here. He's going to be saved by Misha at least, but still things are starting to get shaken up big time for NiP.
I think it's important at least that you're saving Era. That whole situation, by the way, was horrible for NiP. I don't disagree with it, but maybe if Slardar gets this dagger fast enough, you will have some sort of a play on the side of NiP. Because if you think about the item build that they're going for, not one of these heroes can start a fight. You don't have Axe on Sven, you don't have SF with some Blink Yules or whatever combo. Your Slardar still doesn't have that Blink. I think that's crucial. Give Era enough space to finish it. After that, you can fight.
There we go, top lane. VP, he's just getting away with a free tower here. Has the Manta done on top of the Aegis, so he knows that he's ready to play against any attempt to jump in. Roger, he's just going to be able to get the wraparound. Eric, he poked forwards with no backup. That's just a free kill behind the tower. The rest of NiP, they're heading over. They're going to try and fight 4 versus 5. The Soulbind is out on the 2 of them. The Fear is going to start pushing back both the SF and the Sven. VP turns over towards Misha. Misha has to false promise himself, but there's so much damage coming out. This Oracle is surely still going to fall at the end of it all. Iceberg pops the BKB, drops the Doom down onto the SF. They're just getting split up all over the place. NiP, they just don't know what to do here. They're having to run. The Sprouts out onto Charlie. Saberlight falls. Roger again with further Yule's control onto Charlie. He's popped the God Strength, but he has no strength at all as this Sven falls flat to the ground.
Ooh, they're
just getting rolled now by FlyToMoon. 10k lead, FlyToMoon with all 3 cores at the top. Saberlight just still entirely out of the game as this Viper.
Completely rolled, just like you said, and that Slardar even bought back. Like, we just mentioned how important it is for him to find that first item that he needs, but he even buybacks in that last fight. And why do you even fight there if you're NiP? Give away the tier 2, run away, farm somewhere else, fight a different day. No, not exactly there. You're still playing into an Aegis. What's the point?
Just the execution from FlyToMoon in these team fights here, it's terrifying. They're just making it seemingly impossible for NiP to do anything when it comes to the 5-on-5s.
All the items that they have definitely does make that a little bit easier for them. Especially this one that Morphling is carrying, that's the Aegis. And once he gets the Skadi, the game for Sven becomes increasingly difficult.
I mean, what's the play for NiP? I mean, when you don't have the God Strength, at least you can't do anything at all. I mean, even with it, they're struggling to get Charlie in position to actually punch in. Heading over, looking to Iceberg. Iceberg's got BKB ready to pop, and there's just Soulbound and Fear again. The Fear's going to push back the 3 of them. Iceberg just charging the Nature's Wrath. It's huge.
What are they
Double
doing?
kill for Iceberg. I mean, it sort of just seems like NiP's phoned it in at this stage. They've just lost.
This is GG.
It's over. It's over. It doesn't matter. You've got to end this game. Whatever was going on here was nowhere near good enough from NiP. FlyToMoon they just broke them. They just absolutely crushed them.